But when you play a character that's a rebel, that's an exciting experience for an actor because you're playing someone who is doing all the things you maybe could have done or wished you could have done, you know? So it was exciting. I love playing the character, and I love the humor in it. It's so over the top. It's a live action cartoon, and we all knew it. We all knew it.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for coming out to New Jersey HorrorCon, the Q&A stage. We are here with an absolute legend, an icon, so make some noise for the incredible, incomparable Diane Franklin.
Thank you. I hope you have some questions.
Well, yes, this is your panel as well, so I have plenty to go, and I could talk to Diane for days, but at any point you want to jump in, please, by all means. So start at the beginning, if we could. Talk a little bit about The Last American Virgin. I'm a huge fan of canon films, and I absolutely love that. That was like one of the first coming-of-age movies I had ever seen. So any stories or memories from shooting that? Well,
that movie is close to my heart because I actually, it was the first movie, it was the beginning of my career. It was like a breakout film. And it was, I was 19, and they flew me to Los Angeles to audition for it, and I think they looked at like 1,000 girls before they saw me. I mean, I didn't know, but Boaz said he met like actors who were known for the part, and he just couldn't find the right girl. And to me, that is the greatest compliment. You know, it's like you look at everybody and they're like, who's the right girl? And it was such a bizarre sort of sense of events because I was the first, like that particular day, I let my hair go naturally curly. That is, I think the look is what really got the producers to want me to you know, and how young I looked also to get me to audition. So then when they flew me to Los Angeles, they said, you know, you're either going to get the job and stay here and shoot it, or we'll just send you home. And when I got there, I auditioned, and I remember there was an actress on the wall, another actress that they were considering, and her name was Christian Alfonso. And she was on a soap opera, or at least she just had gotten a soap opera. So I think the intention was that she was going to play the part, and I think they even did advertising with her. And she had like dark, kind of curly hair, but she didn't take the part. She chose to do the soap opera, and I got it. So it might have been that they were looking for somebody who kind of looked like her for the part. And so when I got the role, of course, I had no idea. I just, you know, and also the strange thing about that film was I had dark curly hair, and I was the dream girl. And that is a very unusual thing at the time, because dream girls were usually like Marcia Brady or, you know, Farrah Fawcett, or, you know, it was just like a whole all-American look. So I had a much more exotic look. So then when I wound up doing the part, I put my heart and soul to it, because I had been, for 9 years, I had been auditioning. I'd done modeling and commercials and soap opera and theater and hand modeling and I did an extra work job. But by the time I got the film, I was so ready, and I put my heart into it. And it really is interesting when you get a film as an actor, because sometimes actors, they just phone it in, and something's because it comes too easy. But for me, because I had a long time to get ready, it meant so much to me. And I used, you know, personal experience to act it. I felt that Karen was a very difficult role for me to play, because I had to keep all my kind of energy and personality down. I just had to be the girl you just see, there's nothing, you don't know who she is. And that was part of the character. And so when I look at that part, I always go, oh, wow, I really did a good job. Because, you know, I didn't have that I didn't have my own personality in it. It was definitely a character, somebody who was, to me, I always saw Karen as a feather in the wind. If you liked her, if one person liked her, she was there. But then if somebody else did, she was there. But she had no malice. She wasn't a character who was manipulative. I really wanted to make sure that was a part of it, because there are girls out there who are just not formed yet. They're young, but they aren't fully formed. And they get formed by the relationships they're in. So they become what the relationship gives back to them because they want to be loved. And I always remember that. And with Karen, she was a passive character, and I really felt like it was just an interesting character that I didn't see a lot in films. You see the girl who knows what she wants, or I mean, as the 80s went on, you progressively knew more characters that were more assertive. But in the early 80s, we were still girls were objectified, very passive. Not that they aren't objectified today, but the thing about it is today is a girl will be more conscious of it and say, okay, fine, objectify me. I'm all in. I know what's happening. But what we don't want is girls to be tricked, manipulated, and put in an unsafe situation. That's where I go. So Karen she went with the flow, but she was always the guy's girlfriend. She never had her own identity. We never knew who she was. We never even knew her last name, So I think she's a fascinating character. If you haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend it. You'll never see anything like it. Yeah.
So it's based off of an Israeli film that Menachem had made.
Lemon Popsicle.
Lemon Popsicle, yeah. Right. Did you see that prior to making Last American Virgin?
I did not see the film prior to making it, but I did see it when, in the middle of shooting, I saw a scene because Boaz was trying to get me to do something in a scene where I walk into the grandmother's house. And I had a different idea in my head of how I wanted to do that. And he said, no, I want you to look at this. And so he showed me the scene. And he also said that, shot for shot, if you see Lemon Popsicle, it is The Last American Virgin. Shot for shot. Because they have the same cinematographer. So it was fascinating, just to look at this. So in the scene, I think I wanted to be more emotional coming in. He says, no, just be sad, look down. And it was much simpler. And I went, oh, okay, I get it. So in that way, it's interesting. As an actor, you have to come in your head prepared to what you imagine the character doing. And then it could be very different from the director, but a good director knows what he wants, and then he is able to ask the actor to give that and do that. That's, to me, like good direction. A director who just lets you do what he wants, but he has no idea what he wants, is not a good director. It takes two. It goes back and forth. So, yeah. And you know what? The other thing is we had time. Like back in the day, you do a movie and it took a month or so, or maybe more, 3 months. But today it's done in 2 weeks. It's so fast. So there's no time for, it's not even rehearsal, just getting to know the character. The actor gets to know the character at the audition and then gets to know the scene when the partner's there. So, yeah.
I do want to give the audience a chance to jump in. Again, this is your panel just as much as it is ours.
Does anyone have a question?
Here. We do have a question here, and I'll repeat it just so everyone can hear.
Excellent. Okay, Amityville 2.
Yeah. So the question is if the Amityville 2 house was the actual house or different.
All right, the outside of the house was in Toms River, New Jersey. That was the exterior. And that was actually my first day of shooting. We went to do the party scene in Amityville. So I worked outside first in Toms River, New Jersey. Then we shot, and going in and out of the house. But all the interior shots were shot in Mexico City at a studio called Chinachita. And so that was Mexico. And what was phenomenal about that is, okay, here I am, and I want you to imagine this if you have kids. I was 20 years old, and I went down to Mexico City by myself, nobody else, with the entire film crew to shoot these scenes. And I'm down there, and every morning I would be like, okay, now I have to scream and cry all day. And that would be my job. And I would we'd do these scenes. So I'm like running up and down the hall, or I'm running around in church, or I'm screaming. Well, actually the church scene we did do at a church, but I don't remember if it was up in Toms River or not. It might have been it might have been New Jersey, the church scene. But the experience of knowing that you have to cry every day and scream and get upset, I literally got gray hair doing that film because the trauma, your body doesn't know, it doesn't care that it's acting. It still experiences the trauma. So that was, I mean, I enjoy it, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. You know, I like the getting into it, you know, and giving into it and just becoming that character. And the other thing when I played Patricia Montelli is I knew this was a real person. Like, even though it was Dawn DeFeo, at that time, to me, I was playing Patricia Montelli as Dawn DeFeo. Like, I knew this was a person whose life was taken. So when I played her role, it was a homage for her. Like, I was like, I wanted to play it so that she would feel, if she saw it, closure. That she would feel that someone represented her confusion, her pain, her disconnect. You know, when her brother comes to her, that disconnect. And it meant a lot to me because I really wanted to play it as truthfully as possible. So yeah.
So how different was that experience from doing, let's say, TerrorVision?
So then TerrorVision, that was years later, but I was so happy to play that character because if you look at me, you're not necessarily going to cast me as a punk rocker. There's a lot of other actresses who could have gotten that part. In fact, the original person they were originally looking at was the singer from the Go-Go's, Belinda Carlisle. She was who they wanted to play the daughter, but I can't even kind of visualize her because she seems too old to me in my mind, but maybe she was younger then too, so I don't know. But what was amazing is I had just come off Better Off Dead, and when I auditioned, I wore kind of like punky clothes, but my hair was so short from Better Off Dead, like I didn't have anything punky about me. But like, I just like played the character, like, oh my God, like, oh, D, no way. Like, I just got into it with voice and body, and the director saw it in me. I was so happy because I said, you know, you're not going to find somebody who appreciates playing this part as much as I do because I would love to play a punk character. To me, punk rockers were smart. They were sarcastic. They were intelligent. They were rebellious. And as a person, I was dutiful. And as a person, I never got to express that part of me as a person because that was my vocation. I needed to be on top of my game and to be a real actress. And I needed to be dutiful. I needed to listen. I needed to follow direction. But when you play a character that's a rebel, that's an exciting experience for an actor because you're playing someone who is doing all the things you maybe could have done or wished you could have done, you know? So it was exciting. I love playing the character, and I love the humor in it. It's so over the top. It's a live action cartoon, and we all knew it. We all knew it.
I'm so glad to hear that. I have to tell you this story, and I apologize, but my journey through to find TerrorVision is like literally my entire lifetime almost. I saw the film when I was 7 years old on TV one night. You're channel surfing, and you just tune into this movie, you have no idea what it's called.
And you can't
there's
turn
no
the channel.
preview channel. There's nothing.
It's too vibrant. You can't.
I'm just like obsessed with this, and I just. For years, whenever I would be around people that knew movies even more than I did, I'd be like, there's this movie, this brother and sister, they're at home, and this thing in the pool, and blah, blah. I could never describe it, and somehow I found this movie the last year. I'm like, that's it, it's TerrorVision.
Oh my
God.
gosh.
I was like, immediately, I told my room, I was like, we're watching TerrorVision tonight. Like, this is going down. I was so nothing makes me happier than a phantom memory from the 80s or early 90s when like that comes back, you know?
And the fact that you were searching for it is really admirable. Like, I love that.
Like, how do you Google that? Like,
that.
brother and sister at home and
it's bright
creature
colored
in the pool. And
yeah,
like, I don't, if I would have known that, like, oh my God, John Grease is in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, like,
and we all look so different. I've got this crazy punky hair, and he's totally covered up, so you wouldn't necessarily recognize us from this film. If you haven't seen it, it's hilarious.
It even took me a few minutes watching it.
It's over the top, but it's meant to be. And it's made to make fun of the 80s, but we did it in the 80s, so nobody got it. Nobody knew that it was funny because it was... I always think like when a movie's made and it comes out, it takes a while for not just everyone to see it. Nowadays, everybody sees everything pretty fast. But at that time, I always believe like different states live in different time periods. Like some states are in the 1920s. They have, Amish people, they're not going anywhere. They're like, no electricity, that's their world. And then you've got like the 1950s in some states. So when these movies came out, people were just getting the 80s in their world, and they were just wanting to experience, exercise and fashionable, high colors and big hair, and they were just starting. And so then when it came out, they were like, we don't want to make fun of the 80s, we like the So anyway, but it was a great movie. It was really great.
Absolutely, yeah. If you haven't seen it, I can't recommend it enough. And God damn it, studios, we need a 4K release of this film already. But I do want to let the audience another chance to jump back in, guys. You got a question right here, and I'll repeat it when you're done. How is it to work with Burt Young? Oh, great question. All
right.
The wonderful Burt Young.
Okay, so this is amazing. Okay, so first of all, by the way, just to let you know, a few days, 2 days ago maybe, I get this person that I'm like friends with like on the internet, and they say, oh, did you know Burt died? And I went, what? And I looked it up, you're looking it up, and I'm like, how could this have happened? Like, you think that people are going to live forever. You don't even think. And he's such a robust guy, like he's so strong. And I felt like, I think for some reason I felt like if it had happened, I would have kind of been known about it earlier. Like, I don't know the background of it, by the way, but I kind of got to believe it was a surprise for everyone. I don't think it was something that they kind of saw coming. I don't know. But anyway, so Burt was my idol. I adored him. And when in fact, he's one of the reasons why I did the film, because I wanted to work with people who were experienced. And he and Ratanya and James Olsen were the ones that I knew were well-known actors, and I wanted to learn from them, and I also definitely wanted to do a horror film. I knew that was it. But because there were legitimate actors in the film is why it encouraged me to take the film. And by the way, I made the decision. Like, my parents were like, whatever you want to do is fine. Like, it was always me making the final decision how I felt. So I was very excited to work with him. And the thing about working with Burt is that because, like, I don't know, I'm kind of like, I love surprising my audience with what I do. And I love experimenting and just putting it out there. That's my nature. So when we did the movie, I felt safe with him because I could act any way and do anything, and I know that he would keep acting and he would be real and we could play. Like you're playing. If you feel safe with somebody, you're going to play. And we used to do these like, oh my gosh, like he'd be really mad and throw anything. And then cut, like they'd say cut. And then, he'd be joking and laughing. And so we had this great rapport on set where, because he was such a nice guy and because you could trust him, we could really get into it. And then we'd laugh, oh, that was a really good take. Yeah, you were really good at that. You know what I mean? Yeah, that was really good. And so it's so funny when people say to me, weren't you scared of him? Wasn't he like abusive? And I'm like, no, because I trusted him, and he had a daughter, and his daughter, her name was Annie. And he said to me, you look just like my daughter. You look just like Annie. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of funny. And then eventually I saw pictures of her. There is a shot of her with really curly hair. And I went, oh my God, I look just like Annie. So it was very strange. It was like so weird. I mean, if you look on the internet, but his daughter, I looked like his daughter. So we had a connection, It was a really nice connection. And when we went down to Mexico, he was there for me. He took care of me. Obviously, Retanya and I had a great relationship, the one who played my mother. And I just felt very safe, and it was good. Yeah. It felt like a family. It was really nice. And we had such a good relationship that when I did a movie in 2017, it was Amityville Murders. But this time, before I was the daughter in the film, now I'm playing the mother. And this is highly unusual because there's no other actress who's ever played the mother and the daughter in the same story. There are people who've grown up as a character, but they've never played the same. It's like my perspective had to change from seeing it from the mom's perspective. And he came across the country to be in it because of me, because we had done the movie together. And it was really heartwarming. And that scene, when you see Amityville Murders and you see us get together, that is legitimate, heart. That's what and that's really, that film, I'm really grateful to Daniel Farrens for making the film, but it's really beautiful to see the full circle, and he still plays my dad, so the relationship didn't change, but he's much older, and I was very fortunate. I was really lucky.
So, I've always loved the Amityville franchise, all the sequels, even the, direct-to-video era and all that. Did you follow the franchise through the years and watch all the movies?
You know what? I want to. I started to kind of watch Amityville 3 because I was interested in Lori Loughlin. She was a model and an actress, and we even had the same manager back in the day, in the 70s. We were represented by the same manager who just had a handful of girls, and she was one of them, and I was. We did a Coke commercial together. We did modeling together. It's so bizarre with Lori. It's just strange. And then she went off to do her world. I did mine, but it's just, you never know, people go in there. And also in careers, I did modeling with Brooke Shields. And when you start young, you don't know who's going to stay in there and who's going to leave. And a lot of people just went off, but a few core of us stood and stayed in there. But you were saying, what was the question? It was...
Oh, I lost my whole train of thought there. Oh, did you watch the Amityville films in between Amityville?
I started to watch the third one, but then I lost my interest because it's 3D, right?
Yeah.
And...
I can see that.
Isn't that strange? I just was and when I started to feel the tone of it, it really didn't feel heavy. It was just sort of I could tell that they were using the name to get people to come, but it wasn't
It's the
real,
National Lampoon
right?
effect that eventually...
Yeah, it wasn't like a scary
name.
movie, It's just, yeah.
Well, wait till you see the fourth film, and it's about a killer lamp. It's terrible.
Oh my God! Amityville Karen, Amityville Gorilla, right? There's a whole bunch of them.
Literally, it's I swear, the sequels at one point, and I love them, but it's someone's looking around their house it could be a lamp or a clock or a mirror,
right?
Or
a plant.
It's yeah, there you go. It's I love it. A dollhouse. Is, but I do want to let the audience jump back in there instead of me telling Amityville jokes. Okay.
No, but you are correct. I love this, that you sound better off dead. Merci, buckets. That movie. Okay, so first of all, you got to get my book. I have a Better Off Dead book. It's on my table, but you can also get it on Amazon, cheaper, but here. Oh my God, you're going to go crazy. You will lose it. You will completely, because that book, I made it as sort of it's behind the scenes, but it's also, Savage Steve Holland sent me like 30 pages of information that I didn't even know making it. And I literally laughed out loud. You will go crazy by seeing it. All right, so one of my favorite moments was the Jell-O scene, okay? Because that wasn't scripted. I don't remember that being in the script. So we improvised it. So that meant Dan Schneider is like sucking the straw of the Jell-O, which is weird enough. It's just weird. So I'm looking over there, and I didn't even know what Curtis was going to do. But they said, okay, I want you, Savage, the director said, I want you to start looking at him and then just slowly overlook, and he's going to offer you the Jell-O. So I didn't know what he was doing. So literally, I'm trying so hard not to laugh. And so you will see my lips like this. It was so hard. And everybody who was filming us was like this. Like, you know how you're laughing, but you're trying not to show people? And crying, like people cry. So and that was what's a great moment too. Like you do the scene and you know everyone is holding back the laugh. So when the director says cut, everyone is laughing, which is great. But I'm like looking at him, he's sucking through a straw, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And he looks so sincere. Oh my gosh. Dan Schneider did a beautiful job playing Ricky. He was so funny, so straight-faced. So I'm keeping it together. And then I see Curtis, and he is doing the cocaine thing with it and rubbing his teeth, and I am dying. And I'm just, my eyes are getting wider, but I can just tell you that was that was just one tiny moment of how wonderful it was to film. So funny. And I've never been on a film where it was okay to laugh. Like sometimes you're working and, certainly the director sets the tone of the film. So like horror directors would keep it quiet. They, speak very quietly. They make sure the crew is quiet so that the actor can get prepared. Or they should. In TerrorVision, Ted Nicolai, he had a sense of humor, but that movie wasn't like Better Off Dead in funny. So it was crazy, and we would do the scenes, but it wasn't as real. We have to play it real. So in Better Off Dead, we have to play everything very real, but the situations were absurd, It was the perspective, John's perspective was the normal guy looking at the crazy world. And everybody had to keep a straight face. But that film, when we shot it, everyone had a great time, including John. He had a blast. He smiled, he was fun, he was into it, he had these ideas, he was talking to Savage. It was absolutely 100% pleasurable. And it was, you can't say that about a lot of films where everybody is having a good time and happy to be on the set, It was great. So you'll love the book. If you don't get it now, fine, but get it for Christmas, right? Merci buckets.
So while we're on the 80s comedy front, I just have to ask, and I'm sure you don't get asked about this one that often, but I love how I got into college. So any stories or memories from that?
That was funny too. How I got into college. I'm glad you brought that up. So Savage is the sweetest guy, and he hired me again, which I was always grateful, when he hired me to play this part, because at the time, the joke of the guy who has the young wife, it wasn't old yet. It wasn't, the joke in that movie was that there was an older guy who married like a teenage wife, but his son was a teenager. So I was saying things like, call me mom, like that kind of a thing, like Bill and Ted, sort of like that kind of, the Missy's role. But it was such a funny experience because I had to play a woman, a young girl, who was very irritated that this guy's college son was in the house. And her whole objective was, come on, go to college. Just go. We can't have you here right now. We're busy. Okay, so just do it. But it was such a funny situation and the lines were so funny. And I remember just being so happy to play it because I would never have usually be cast in a part like that. So again, very funny role, and I don't know, it made me laugh. It was a great character. I appreciate him thinking of me for it.
Well, I would appreciate a 4K release of that as well. So studios, come on, get on it. We're starving for this stuff. I do want to let the audience jump back in though. Any other questions out there? All right, well, you opened a can of worms with Bill and Ted because I am like one of the biggest Bill and Ted fans in the world, and I've shown you this before, but you probably forgot. The only tattoo on my left arm.
Totally excellent. Dudes, check out that. It's a phone booth, dude. It is totally triumphant.
We all need a daily reminder to be excellent to each other.
I should make my signature next to it, and then you get tattooed on it.
Oh, man.
Or I'll just write Princess Elizabeth, right?
Oh, my God. I would absolutely love that. So, if we can, any memories from Bill and Ted?
Bill and Ted's. Yeah, it was really fun. And I think what was really, we were very fortunate. I mean, not only did we shoot our scenes in Rome, they flew us to Rome to shoot at the castle. And all of the extras were Italians, and everyone was dressed in costume. And it felt so authentic. And this is actually, the place that we shot for Bill and Ted's was a museum. It was a castle, but a museum. So here we are shooting. Imagine they dress you like you're from a time period of the 1600s, I think it was. You're in this gorgeous outfit, and then they say, okay, now you can sit on a bed in a museum. Like, these are things you're not supposed to touch. And all of a sudden, you're working in this world where everything is available to you. We were walking the halls of that castle and just completely in awe of Kimberly and I were like, this is so beautiful and so cool to be able to act in a museum that is the castle. And making it, and everything was authentic, you know? And it was very cute because the royal ugly dudes did not speak English. They were Italian. And so I would be like, can I sit on your lap? Like, we were trying to, speak, with them and like, see, So, that was very fun. We had a great time and everyone was, it was magical to get all those people in a foreign country in all the dress and then on top of it, Bill and Ted, dude, like talking like that. And it was the combination of, English princesses talking like this and off with their heads. And the whole thing just was magical. It was just like, you don't know until when you're shooting a film, that moment when it all comes together, no one anticipates it, not even the director. No one's been through it before. So when you're shooting something in the moment, it's special for everyone, even the extras. They feel like, wow, I was something really special.
You could tell. Yeah. I mean, I know they reshot the ending a couple of times, but you could tell when Bill and Ted are giving the presentation, like that auditorium had a great time. They were having a blast watching that. That was
so fun. We shot, there were two endings for Bill and Ted. There was the ending that we shot that you saw in the garage and where we joined the band. And then the other ending, Bill and Ted took us to the prom, which people don't even remember, but that's what the whole point was. They were taking us to the prom. So we actually shot in Arizona a different ending where Rufus got us out of the phone booth again, and Bill and Ted came to us, took it by the arm, and we were now prom kings and prom queens. So... and then their outfits were hilarious because they took their tuxedos and cut them at the knee and wore, that high tops and Converse. So they looked hilarious. And we shot it, and it was adorable, but I guess they tested it with the audience, what do they call it, viewing audience or whatever, the test audience, and they thought the ending shouldn't have been that. And that's why they reshot it to the joining of the band, because I think they saw the potential of the girls being in the band and then supporting the guys.
I will say, as much as I love the girls joining the band, it is one of my favorite endings of any movie ever. The holy grail of deleted scenes is that prom footage. Like, I'm dying to see this footage. And I know a few stills. I think Alex found a still or two, and he posted it on social media like a year or so ago.
Wait, did he post it?
Just a still image, but like not the actual footage. Like, forget the Stoltz footage. No, this is what I want to see. I want to see the Bill and Ted prom.
I have that. I think I have a picture of that as well. The thing I have to say is, in those days, people, I guess, didn't see the value of keeping that extra footage. Oh, man. And nowadays, like, that's what you put online to show people, like, this is coming up. It was such a sad thing that they deleted that ending, or they got rid of it. And even Savage Steve Holland, he did a movie. There was a film he did called my 8-year-old birthday party. It was a film. Savage Steve Holland, for Better Off Dead, did this film, showed it to Henry Winkler and some other people, and that's how he got his deal on Better Off Dead. But that film now is gone. And it's funny. So with my daughter, who's a filmmaker, I'm like, you keep that first film. You keep your films. Because they will become very special, when people see them. They become very, very special.
Yeah, make a backup of the backup nowadays, There's no more cutting room floor, and thank God for that. Unfortunately, we are just about out of time. I do want to give the audience one last chance to jump in if they want to, though. Okay, we got a question right here. What was it like working with Keanu?
Keanu. It's so funny because I recently saw a documentary done on him. And it was so interesting because, look, when I worked with him, he was lovely. And he was very shy. He was not well known yet. He was up and coming. This was kind of his first, maybe it was his second film. And
Youngblood and maybe The Night Before with Lori Loughlin?
Yeah, it was very early. I mean, he had not done even...
Actually, no, probably not, because Bill and Ted was in the can for like 2 years.
Yeah, it was. Right. We did it in like 86 or 87 or something.
Yeah.
He was very innocent, adorable, but shy and to himself. Very respectful, and but he wasn't as loose and kind of, relaxed as Alex, which is interesting because, I mean, that's one of the things with Keanu is that he's not like, he can play that character like, dude, what? But he is, in his physicality, not as relaxed as Alex, which is probably what led to The Matrix and, John Wick and all that stuff. And maybe that's because he's so tall. And, when tall people have to act with little people like me, they have to bend down. So, to keep that sort of body posturing, I don't know, maybe it just led to some different behavior. But I think it's interesting about Keanu is he is, when he did Bill and Ted's Face the Music, I originally anticipated that film to be about the girls, the new Bill and Ted's, the daughters. And what was fascinating to me was it was about the guys. And I think that what I didn't know was that Keanu was really trying to say with Alex that older guys have an audience. And it's not just young guys and young action heroes and young thing, that they wanted to express that they could get their audience, an audience to watch them as older guys. And I didn't realize that when it came out, but I thought, that's interesting, like the fact that it was about them. And then I thought, but shouldn't it be with us too? They're getting older. We should get older too, but nevertheless. He was quite lovely. We worked together.
Well, I'm still hoping for the original princesses to get back together with Bill and Ted one of these days. So
Station.
I'm going to speak it into the universe until it happens.
Yeah.
So we are sadly out of time, guys, but be sure to come to Diane's table. I know she has a lot of stories, just one of the most charming people you'll ever meet at these shows. Get some autographs, get some photos, get to her table, and make some noise to show her how much we appreciate her spending the time with us here.
And thank you so much for coming. It means a lot to me. Every one of you.
Hi, this is Aaron Ashmore, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe like now. Oh, and have fun and follow your fandom.